Hello guys, welcome back to this channel, and today we're reviewing the movie Spider-Man. Leading up to both No Way Home and Venom Let There Be Carnage, I'll be reviewing through the Spider-Man franchise as well as the two Venom movies, where one, I guess. I'll be watching through each of them. I'm going to do the Raimi, the Garfield, and then I'm going to do something for the Tom Holland ones. I'm going to watch them. I don't know if I'm going to review them. All that, we'll see about that. And then we'll do Spider-Verse and then Venom. And then whenever I see No Way Home, I'm gonna rank all the Spider-Man movies, and I'll debate whether I want to do Tom Holland trilogy, and then Venom, I'm just gonna rank all of them, I guess. Whichever one I see first, I'm gonna do it after, probably. I hope I see Venom first, but I'm probably gonna see No Way Home first. I don't know. Well, I'll let you guys know later. But not much else to say. But go check out my MCU playlist and my new Spider-Man playlist, which will be coming out once this video gets uploaded. And I'll be trying to work on thumbnails a bit more. But let's get started. Starting off with what this movie's about. This movie's about this guy named Peter Parker who gets bitten by a radioactive spider on a field trip, and then what happens is his best friend, and then he becomes this guy that shoots webs out of his hands. So he battles a bunch of villains. He has some cool powers, and yeah. Next up, we have the good. Overall, a lot of the greatness to this. The origin story is told fantastically. One of my favorite origin stories of all time. Iron Man, I think there's some that beat it. I absolutely love Batman from Batman Begins origin story. Captain America's also probably beats it. This one doesn't quite count, but the Guardians of the Galaxy's origin story, they're like the whole team kind of is just built into one origin story, I would say. I'd say those three are better. Also, Iron Man's really close. But those are like my top 5 origin stories. And overall, this origin story is absolutely fantastic. And then I like a lot of the characters. I think this is probably Tobey Maguire's best performance of all of the movies. This is Spider-Man 2. I really like some of the other characters, like Flash Thompson. I think is a good enough character. Really like Willam Defoe as Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin. The suit is kind of cheesy, but I'll talk about that later. I also like Harry Osborn. I think James Franco does a pretty good job. Don't like MJ that much. I like her in this movie. I don't really like her in the other two, because then she just becomes a damsel in distress. Especially by the time you get to the third one, it's just like, really, you could do a lot more with this character. Why do you do this every time? So it's just kind of frustrating. But overall, I think a lot of the characters in this movie are great. And some of the action sequences, really like the one in the burning building. That's a great one. That's like my favorite one. The other, there's like 3 main action sequences. The one in the middle Manhattan near Times Square, and then there's the one and then there's the one in the burning building, and then there's the final battle, which I'll talk about the final battle. The other two, one of them's not really much of an action sequence. It's just Green Goblin blowing up a building. The other one I'll talk about later. I feel like I'm missing some action sequences. I am not sure, but it doesn't really matter. A couple other things I really love about this movie. I really enjoy some of the cast, like as I mentioned, James Franco and Willam Defoe. They do a great job. I think overall the cast in general just does a good job. Some other things I like I also didn't mention Aunt-May and Uncle Ben. This is my favorite of the Aunt Mays that they've done of the 3 main trilogies. Just because I think she has the best role. I do kind of like the one in the Tom Holland, but she seems pretty young to be that Peter Parker's aunt. Interesting. And I think Uncle Ben's also a great character. A lot of the premise in general around this movie, it does a good job. It's really, this, X-Men and Blade, I feel like this has been mentioned before in many videos, not really my videos, but has been mentioned as like they started like the modern era of comic book movies. I think this is the best of those 3. I think Blade is still a pretty great movie, which that is a franchise I should review. A while back, a comment appeared and I should review this, but I don't know. Overall, I do think there's a lot of great stuff about this movie. It is a great Spider-Man movie. Now we have the bad. Some of the bad stuff. As I mentioned, I don't like Mary Jane Watson that much. I think she's just a damsel in distress near the end. She doesn't play much of a role in near the beginning and middle. She does, but at the same time, she doesn't. I wish her role was better, and yeah, that's pretty much it. There are two other things I don't really like. First one is the final battle. It's just kind of weird. Like, it has a lot of the stuff that Raimi does that just doesn't quite work. And, like, I noticed that, like, it's kind of anticlimactic because, like, it's a really small final battle. I like how brutal it is. Like, when you see the, when you see the, Green Goblin gadget blow up in Peter's face, it's kind of graphic at the same, which is kind of cool. But it has a lot of the Raimi weirdness that just doesn't sit right with this movie. Of all the three, Spider-Man 3 kind of touched into that, but this movie's the one I think that kind of, like, the final battle just has so much of the stuff that I think doesn't work with some of Raimi's movies. Like, I've seen Evil Dead. It's a great movie, but, like, there's a lot of weird stuff to it. But it kind of works throughout that movie. Here, not so much. Because it's a different kind of movie, and I don't know, I'm probably not making any sense, but whatever. And then the Green Goblin suit, super cheesy. I can get over it because at the same time, I actually don't mind it that much. I can get over it. But it looks bad in some action sequences. Like, that also goes down some of the special effects. A lot of them do not look good at all. But I think overall, Willam Defoe as Norman Osborn is a fantastic villain. Ranked pretty highly for me, I'd say. Some other things, I don't love Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. I know that's kind of unpopular. I like him a little bit more than Andrew Garfield just because we got to see the character throughout the trilogy more. Specifically in this movie, he's kind of a weird character. I mean, he's of all three live-action iterations of Peter Parker from the comics, which I have read some Spider-Man comics, not like I've read like a couple books. But overall, like he's probably the most like Peter Parker from the comics. Well, you have Andrew Garfield, which is kind of the opposite, and then Tom Holland just is, I don't know. But overall, I think his Spider-Man is still good. I just don't think he's as good as some of the other ones. And that's pretty much all the things I don't like. Some of the CGIs I mentioned, yeah, it doesn't really work, because it looks better than I'd say. There's some CGI in Spider-Man 3 that looks absolutely horrible, like Topher Grace and the Venom stuff. Just, no. For this movie's final score, I'm going to give it like a 9.1 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's fantastic. Some Spider-Man 2, I'd say, improves on a lot of the action sequences overall. Like, not many of them are good in this movie. I really like the one in the burning building, but that's about it. Like, it's just shot really nicely. And I do think the action sequences are shot well. I noticed that in Raimi's sequences, they tend to be shot really well. And even in Spider-Man 3, I'd say they're shot well. I feel like it'd be good to, review the trilogy as a whole, not just this movie, because I mentioned the other two movies a lot. But overall, I do think this is a great movie, and I just think I think it's probably the most underrated Spider-Man movie, because I don't see this movie getting a lot of love, and I think this movie's pretty fantastic. So I recommend you guys go watch it. I think it's one of the best Spider-Man movies. It's a pretty underrated, I would say. Like, I don't see this movie getting as much love anymore as I bet it used to. But overall, I'll give this a thumbs up, and I think it's great. So I'll see you guys next time. Adios.